In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you. In the sky, gazing far into the night, I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
Good evening, everybody in chat on this evening's show where I've been working all night, or working all day, depending where you live. And there's been some news in the FPL community today that Kevin De Bruyne's not going to play, and Matip's not going to play, and it looks very likely that Adrian's not going to play. Hello to Daily Llama, One Rovers Vlogs, Sultan Saeed, Nasty Bulls. David Mishra's in chat. Patrick Manali's in chat. VAR. We've got MSK117. Abdul, welcome. Shaban. Anish in chat too. Ari Hiroki. Faraz. 2KO2. Welcome. How are you guys doing? How you guys doing? How many hits? I'm not taking any hits. I haven't taken any hits. I haven't taken any hits just yet. Toss a coin. Toss a coin for a free hit, shall I? Minus 32. I like it. Aguero benched. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. You haven't really taken a minus 32, Anish. Don't be silly. Are we going to see another minus 16? I don't know. You guys want to see more hits? Ah, well. I'm here to kind of show you what my plan is for this game week, and let's just stop this music. There we go. Right, so let's put something else on a bit. There we go, a little bit more. Right, let's calm down. Let's all calm down. It's only game week 8. There's a long way, 30 more game weeks to go, guys. Now is not the time to be doing rash moves or knee-jerk transfers just because Kevin De Bruyne is injured. He's only going to be out for 1 week, right? International break. He's not going to play for Belgium. He'll be back fit. What are you guys on about? Minus 16s, minus 32s. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. Crazy. Why are you wearing sunglasses? People ask me. Well, I'm not entirely sure. You like the red theme? Oh, cool. Thank you, Hamad. Right, so this is my team going into game week 8. Adrian, big question marks over him. Digne away at Burnley. I'm not holding out much hope, to be honest with you. Everton aren't keeping clean sheets. Lundstrom away at Watford. Ah, these players. Matip, red now, not going to play. So, got to rely on points from Dan James away at Newcastle. Now, Son away at Brighton could work. Could work. I just want to share with you something that a team that I like the look of for this game week. And to be honest with you, I'm not consulting you. I'm just going to gauge your opinion, you know. And for any of you that knows me, I'm not bothered about taking a little risk every now and again. And law of averages says that one time it's going to pay off, right? The one time this season I wildcarded, didn't pay off. Then I took a minus 16 the week after. Triple captained Aguero. Didn't really pay off. This could. Maybe. Right. What we got? What are you guys talking about in chat? What are you guys talking about here? Why Greenwood isn't red? Because they FPL haven't made him red. Up an ID Studios wannabe. Yeah. That's it, man. That's it. Lundstrom may be your top scorer this week. Could well be. Free hit, free hit, free hit, free hit. Loughton to Tamori. Right, okay, let's do some transfers. Let's do some transfers. See what you guys think. Let's see what you guys are gonna say. Boom, 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 boom. Right. Let's take the players out that I don't want. Alexander Arnold, I want him in my team. Tomori, got to get on that. Got to get on the Tomori train, haven't I, guys? Haven't I, chat? Got to get on him. There's 4 million defender, Rico, and yeah. Let's bring him in. Let's bring him in. Bring on. I think we could probably do with like a Yarmolenko. Keepers are overrated, man. Keepers are overrated. Boom. 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 I like this team. I like this team. What do you guys think of this team? I'm not getting Saka in. I like the look of Pereira. I just can't afford him. What's going on? Wait, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. What happened there? What happened there? Wait a minute, guys. Hang on, guys. I think we may have got a donation, but something just came in. I don't know what it is. Nothing came in chat, but money sound drop. That was the IRA. Sorry guys, something happened on the stream then, and I just need to know what it was, because if someone's donated money, I need to know what's happened. I'm really sorry. Here we go, donation history. I know. I think it was just a... I don't see anything. I don't see anything. That was weird. That was weird. I don't know. I don't see anything here. Write in chat if you've if you did do something, because I'm really sorry it doesn't come up. Anyway, guys. Yeah, welcome to the stream. You're probably wondering what's going on. I'm going to be doing some transfers tonight, and this is the team that I'm thinking of doing it for this week. I like Trent Alexander-Arnold. I like Mane. I don't think the third Liverpool is essential. I've brought in McGovern because of Krul's injury. So no money in the goalkeepers whatsoever. Power 5 midfield: Yarmolenko, Mane, Sterling, Mahrez, and Bernardo Silva. Aubameyang up front with Pukki. One of my City won't start. How do you know that? How do you know that one of my team is going to start? One of my Man City team are going to like. I think Gundogan maybe benched. Rodri play in. David Silva, Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, and Sterling flanking Jesus or Aguero. I mean, you don't think Mahrez will start? Don't rush. Bernardo Silva might have a ban. Come on, Discord, guys. You want to talk about this? Daily Armour, I know you're there. Bernardo's banned? Not yet, he is not. He's not banned yet. He's not banned. Gotta go David Silva. Will play with De Bruyne being out. Maybe. Foden will start. Will Jesus start? I got a feeling he might do. Just take the minus 36 on the chin. No need for the hit. Abdul's saying don't do it. Is it really worth it? Take the minus 36. It's a fast air in chat. Right, let me just go back. What do you guys think? Would you do it? Anyone here doing some hits this week? X in chat if you're taking a hit this week. Give me an X in chat if you're taking a -4 or more this week as a hit. Always next season. Do you want it to be a surprise, guys? Do you guys want to see? Do you want to wait until the game week, the deadline? Do you guys want to wait till the deadline? Seriously, I'm asking you now. I'm asking you if you'd rather me wait to the deadline. You want to know now? Would prefer convince you to not take such a massive hit. Right, come on, stream guys. If you want to convince me, I am waiting to talk to you. Abdul, you're live on stream. Are you there, Abdul? Abdul, can you hear me? You got your mic muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, Abdul. How's it
What
going?
is going on, man?
How's it going?
I'm okay, I'm good, man.
You right?
Yeah, very well.
You all set for Gameweek 8?
Yeah, I'm set for Gameweek 8.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Gonna be good.
Yeah, I did one free transfer.
Yeah?
I got KDB on the bench.
Yep.
I've got a little bit of money tied up in him, so I can afford for him to drop once without losing any value. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait and see.
Okay.
If he comes back, or if he doesn't, then he's out next week or the week after the international break.
So do you like what my team's looking at? Like, do you like the team?
The team was okay, but I think having 3 City mids is a bit of a risk because one of them is probably going to be a bench.
You speak up a tiny bit, mate. Because
I think your team was good, but I think having 3 City mids is a bit of a risk because one of them might get benched.
It is a bit of a risk, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Sterling's defo starter. It's a toss-up between Bernardo Silva and Mahrez. And the problem with those two is that one of them is probably going to play 60 minutes and the other one will come on for about 20 minutes. And
You think?
Yeah, probably. Probably. It happens a lot with Mahrez anyway. He'll come on for a 15-minute cameo or 20-minute. But I like Aubameyang. Aubameyang up front was good. My mids were good apart from the triple C.
Well, Abdul, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I've been away from FPL today. I've been working. I've had my phone on silent. I've had a few messages saying, oh my God, have you heard about Matip? Have you heard about De Bruyne? Have you heard about Alisson being fit?
I think Alisson will got one more game.
Well, Adrian, you mean?
Yeah, Adrian, sorry. I think Alisson.
Really?
After the international break, yeah.
What about Aguero? Do you think Aguero will get some minutes?
I think he'll play for sure.
You think he'll start?
Yeah, he's got no international duty, so he's probably going to start. I don't know why people are panicking like that.
Do you think this is what this is, Abdul? Do you think I'm panicking right now?
I think the community seems to. Everybody on Discord's panicking.
Does it look like?
I've captained it.
Look in my eyes, Abdul. Does it look like I'm panicking right now?
No, I can't see through those sunglasses, buddy.
Abdul, do you think I should free hit, yes or no?
No. I think all you need to do is just change Matip and you'll be alright.
Alright, no worries. Cool. Thank you, Abdul, for your advice.
No, if you really want to do it, you can reassess before deadline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm stepping away from the edge.
Step away from the edge, please, buddy.
Alright, no worries. Thank you, Abdul. Daily Llama.
I should be so lucky, lucky, lucky.
That's not
lucky.
the song that's playing at the moment. Why are you singing that?
I thought you were just joining the hit parade. Keeping it going from the 50s.
Llama, do you think I should or should not free hit this week?
I wouldn't free hit.
Well, I'm not taking a minus 36, Llama.
Why not? You've got that in your locker. Hits are nothing to you. go back to your original team. Like, how many fires have you actually got to try and put out? Not that many, I don't think.
Potentially 4.
Right. So I'm going to bring your team up now. So bear with me.
Can I play classical music? No, I'm not playing classical music. This is intense. Right.
You know you need to get the.
You want to get
the Millionaire music.
Yeah. Well, that's copyrighted. I can't do that. And also classical music's copyrighted as well. Sterling Morris and Bernard Silva is dumb, says Daniel Jarman in chat. Well, I'm your rival, Daniel, so you should be loving it right now.
I think David Silva's a better pick, though.
You think David Silva's a better pick over who?
Over Bernardo Silva.
Really?
Yeah. Look at his point. Look at David Silva's points over the last 5 game weeks. He's playing slightly more minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just one opinion.
Okay, so a lot of people in chat don't think that these 3 players for City are going to play or have decent game time. I want to disagree. I think they will. I think they'll have decent game time. I think City will wipe Wolverhampton Wanderers aside. Don't know what's going to be Pep's idea up front, whether it be Jesus or Aguero. Aguero playing 55, 60 minutes, or Jesus starting and playing 40, 50 minutes, maybe. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Am I going to free hit Darren Walsh? Thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
Why don't you? Here's a thought. Why don't you try looking at taking Son out, De Bruyne out, and James out? Put Yarmolenko in, Sterling in. See what that gives you for your 4th midfielder.
Say again.
Take out, looking at your old team, take out De Bruyne, Son,
Right. Yeah.
and James.
Right.
And put in Sterling, Yarmolenko, and then how much money does that leave you?
Right. Okay. So this is a minus 12. No, minus 8.
Yeah.
How much do you value a 3 hit?
I value it quite a bit, and I would only.
How many points do you value a 3 hit?
So I'm looking at like blank game weeks.
Yeah, I know you are. But how many points do you value a 3 hit? Just give me an idea.
20.
Exactly. 20 points. So people are taking hits left, right, centre, right? People are talking, like, we've got a lot of X's in chat, people taking -4s, -8s.
Yep.
So then I need to just get a positive 12 on those people, and I feel that my free hit's been justified. Maybe more. Yeah. And let's just entertain this notion. Taking out De Bruyne, David James, Daniel James. Sorry, not David James. He's an old goalkeeper that doesn't play anymore. And Son.
Yeah.
And bringing in. So you were thinking of bringing in Sterling.
Yep. Yarmolenko.
Right. Well, I'm not going to have any. Well, 7.3.
What you'll have left?
David Silva. How much is he? He's more than that, isn't he? 7.6. Yeah. That kind of sucks. But it's still the problem that I have right now, which is the Matip issue doesn't go away. The Adrian question mark doesn't go away. Like, potentially, Alisson will play, Gomez plays. That's 0 points. 0 points. So literally, Button's not going to get me anything. All right, let's set my team up. So if I wasn't going to do it, I'll be playing Loughton, home to Everton. And then Rico would have to come on for De Bruyne.
Mm-hmm. It's not looking good, is it?
It's looking dreadful, Llama. It's looking absolutely dreadful.
Listen, I can't sit here and offer you advice that's going to make you feel any better, I'm afraid. I'm just trying to take you away from that minus 36, and I wasn't going to do a
minus 36.
Yeah. The free hit though, I can see why you would contemplate it. But then
I'm
what
left
you're
with the
staring-
same issue next.
Yeah,
After But then Matip should be back. De Bruyne should be back by then. And I can live with it. And then Tammy is still got decent fixtures. I still think that.
What's your opinion on Son? Because
What's my opinion on Tottenham?
Right, because well, that's kind of half of where my head's sitting at the moment. But with Son, I see it that he is away to Brighton, but Tottenham and themselves just seem to be a bit all over the place at the moment. And Son, for some reason, does tend to get rested after international duty. I made the mistake. I brought Son in, but I've took the -8 and got rid of him again.
I'm actually thinking right now that I'm #play your own game.
Oh, definitely.
And as a rival, you know that you're scared, Llama. Stevie, you're scared of my free hit team. That's why you're trying to get me to not do these wild moves.
You want to do the free hit, you go ahead. You can wear these sunglasses, I'd still beat you at poker. It's not an issue.
So you're taking a -8, yeah?
I've already done it. Already pressed the button on it. It's done. It's dusted.
Remind me what your transfers were.
Oh no, you'll see the transfers tomorrow.
Okay.
If we're having a little friendly 1-to-1 chat poker style, then that's how we'll go about it.
You guys think, right? I want to know if you're there in chat watching the stream. Do you think I'm gonna do a free hit this game week? Yes or no?
I think you will have a deep think about it and you'll pull a -8 out the bag. Because you know deep inside, as an FPL player that's played the game for a good number of years, that free hit's a valuable chip. And I'm sure if I collabed with SMZ, I'd be able to snip audio bites from you saying the exact thing. Free hit chips, they're golden chips. Don't go wasting the free hit chip. The wildcard chip, you can do what you want with that. You get 2 of them, but not the free hit chip, not the triple captain chip. But you are my rival.
Thank you, Llama.
Listen, you'll be fine, but I still think you'll take a -8 because you know deep down that's the right move to make.
Thank you, Llama. I mean, okay.
I will leave you in peace. There is plenty other people that may have opinion, but we are all sitting in here. We'll give you the X's and all the Y's that you want. But you know the -8's the better move than the free hit chip. But you're part of the hit parade now, so.
I took one -16 and now I'm part of the hit parade. I took one minor blip. A -8 is nothing, says Tika Sala.
A -8 is nothing.
Well, depends on what your overall score is, really. If your overall score is 38, then it is.
Put it this way, well, yeah, when you put it so eloquently. I took a -8 and I've dropped about 100,000 places. However, in the Cash Mini League, I only dropped a place.
Don't do it. You used a wild card as well. Oh my, 7 weeks gone. Flip a coin. We all know what happened when I flipped a coin last time.
That's very true.
Okay.
I'm going to get a beer. You get someone else in who might have different views and opinions.
Yeah, I'm going to get Stein in. Guys, if you want to talk to me, come join Discord now. !Discord. Give me your opinion on this idea of free hit in Game Week 8. Stein, you're on air. Can you hear me?
Jason, by the way, I think Harbour Boy might have DM'd you. I think
Why?
it was him that sent the donation, by the way.
Oh, I'm so
Subtle.
I'm so sorry. Literally, the alert has been hidden under all this other stuff that I've got going on here because I kind of just made it in a rush. Harbour Boy, hang on.
I think he's DM'd you, pal, so that you know it was him and how much
Yeah,
it was, etc.
Harbour Boy, thank you, dude. I don't know what it was for, how much it was for, or the message. Come write to me in a DM. But dude, thank you ever so much. You don't have to do that. We're just here to just talk FPL, but thank you. Right, Stein, are you there? Steiny boy, you can hear me. Talk to me, Stein. Come on. No, he's having issues, isn't he, with his Discord? Hello,
Hello.
Stein. I can hear you.
Oh, all right. Oh, hi. How you doing?
There we go. I'm great, Stein. I'm just going to stop the music because you're quite quiet. Feel free to talk a little bit louder. It's Game Week 8.
Is that any better?
It's a little bit better. Yeah, it's Game Week 8. I've got some red flags in my team, namely Matip, De Bruyne. Problem with Adrian. I don't think he's going to play. Stein,
Okay.
what do I do in my team?
Well, I wouldn't worry about De Bruyne because he's got a slight groin strain. It's going to be 3 weeks before he plays again. So use one of your bench players to cover him this week. And then really you want to look at your defence, really, I should think.
Did you see my my team that I had on a free hit?
No, I didn't actually. No.
Right, I'll put it back. I'll put it back up on the screen. Hang on. In fact, let me just post it. This will be easier. I'll just post it into the Discord, and then everyone can see it in Discord then. And have you taken a hit this week, Stein?
Yes, I have. I have taken a -4, and I needed to do that because Anthony Martial was about to drop in price. So I was about to, excuse me,
You
I was
still
about to
got
lose.
Anthony Martial, Stein.
I did up until this week. I took a -4 to take him out. It's not bad, eh? Considering I've moved up the league. I think I am in the Challenge League. I think I'm around about 19, 20. So I'll be moving up steadily because first couple of weeks, as I predicted, because of my Vardy pick, I would be near the bottom, and I was, but slowly but surely I've moved up. So I'm quite happy with that. But as regards to your defence, I think you should be subbing Rico. Have you got any money in the bank?
No.
You haven't
No.
got a penny.
No, mate. No.
Oh, it's all the comics that are on tonight, Jason.
Yeah. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm waiting for him. It's fine. I'm waiting for him.
But no, I didn't know. I was only asking. But it seems to me that you really need to play with your defence. I would think.
Right. So this is the team, Stein. If you're watching the stream, I don't know if you are or not. This is the team, right? That I'm thinking of bringing in. All right, and then obviously I'll play Tomori, Alexander-Arnold, Lundstrom, Yarmolenko, Sterling, Mahrez, Mane, Bernardo Silva, Pukki and Aubameyang up front with the armband on Aubameyang. What's this? Hey Lama, I'm going to bypass this game week. What happens, and save my free hit for later on in the game. John Harris.
I think you should.
Such a sensible approach by our John there.
I think you should save that. Definitely save that free hit because it's going to be vital to you later in the season. Because this week you could take a -4 or -8 and let it play, because it's the last game before the break. So wherever you are, you're going to be until the game week 9, and after the international break, who knows who's going to come back in form? Who knows who's going to pick up a groin strain?
How many
So
points
really,
How many points do you value a free hit, Stein?
if you get it absolutely right, it could be worth 50 points.
But
You know?
like just an average. Yeah.
I'd say an average is round about 20, I would think.
Yeah. And people are taking -4s, -8s. I'm having a goalkeeper that may not start. I've got Matip, who isn't going to play. Kevin De Bruyne, that's injured. If I start taking hits, aren't I just better off bringing in Aubameyang, captaining him, throwing 3 Man City midfielders for the lols, Yarmolenko as well? Trent Alexander-Arnold.
But Jason, you must know this is a knee jerk, because you're predicting a bad week. So now you're knee jerking into having a great week. And the problem disappears this week, and then you're going to have to look at it again for the international break, and then you're in the same panic mode again. So slowly.
Yeah, but it's always a gamble. It's always a gamble.
Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't gamble, but I'm saying, why throw all your money in the pot? Why not just throw a little bit and save some for later, so you can keep all. If your idea is to gamble,
I know that voice.
Why have one big gamble when you can have loads of little ones?
Just do it. Jason,
I say, this is what I say. Don't panic with your front line.
Yeah.
Take one player from the bench and make 2 substitutions in defence. That's what I say.
Jason, I might do it.
You're just trolling me now, Boone, aren't you?
No, I'm not, mate. Honestly, I've got Matty, Wan-Bissaka, I've got Aurier suspended, I've got Cantwell, who's a doubt. I want Aubameyang. Poch is saying that there's going to be some rotation. I've got a feeling Son could miss out. I am, honestly, the way my season's going right now as well, I don't mind doing it. I know usually I'm someone that would be like, hold it till later in the season, for good reason too. But the way my season's going right now, honestly, I feel like free hitting. I really do. I haven't had time. I've been kind of, this week I've been away from FPL. And I'm just thinking, why not? My team's in a bit of a mess. I want a Aubameyang. I don't want to take a -8 because I'm in a, sticky situation as it is. I'm tempted, honestly.
I could give you just a new username and password, Boona, if that would help you.
Yeah, mate. I'm open to offers. Anyone, just get into my DMs, give me accounts, whatever,
Boona, I think you are. From what you're saying, you sound like you're pretty much in the same position as Jason.
Let's get a conversation going. I'm fed up with this one at a time malarkey, one at a time. We got. Let's bring in Penguin. Let's bring in Aguero. Let's bring in Chicken Tikka, Mo Salah, and then bring in Shaban Aldi one at a time. You guys are all adults. You can talk and not talk over each other. You've seen what's going on now. I'm going to ask what Penguin's idea is for this game week.
My idea?
Yeah.
Oh my god. What's your team look like? I can't
Well,
remember.
at the moment, it's up on the screen now if you've got the stream going.
Yeah, I've got the stream. Oh, is it the... Yeah, I got it. Don't do a free hit, mate. Don't do a free hit, because just save that shit for a blank game week when the FA Cup games kick in next year. Don't waste a free hit. Don't. I mean, you got to save your chips, mate.
Yeah. Do you think I can't make up the same sort of points this week with the players that I've got injured or not featuring, i.e. Adrian? Do you think Adrian's gonna play?
Yeah, I think he's gonna play, but I don't think he'll keep a clean sheet. The way I've been watching Liverpool at the minute, him in goal. With Leicester attacking, I can't see us keeping a clean sheet. I can't see it.
Have you taken a hit this week?
No, just brought in Aubameyang in for who brought him in for Pookie.
Right. Okay.
I was thinking of bringing Mahrez. Seeing as that you're taking quite a big hit, if you were going to do that, I was going to probably take a -4.
Okay. So, thank you, Penguin. I've taken all that on board. Thank you. FPL Aguero, what's your thoughts on this free hit team that I've posted? I'll post it again. Up on the screen.
Your original team, you just need to do 2 transfers. Get Matip out for Chelsea defender, maybe, and get Adrian out instead of doing it next week.
What, and play?
So I did Adrian to Roberto and Matip to Tomori just 5 minutes ago.
So you don't think Adrian will play?
I think he will play, but I'm scared they're going to concede. And I know how I'm going to have to do a transfer next week anyway, so I might as well do it this week when everyone's taking hits.
Well, that's a big point. I mean, like I said, if I free hit, I've got the same headaches after the international break.
That's why I think you're better, as Aguero's just saying there, if you take a -4 or even a -8, I think there's going to be so many people either playing teams that might only have 9 people featuring in it, so they're at a bit of a disadvantage, or there's going to be a bulk of people taking -4s, -8s, -16s, because it's, you know, there's a lot of us out there that have got little fires here and there that we need to put out, and for some reason it's Kevin De Bruyne's fault, to be honest.
Yeah.
Lama,
Absolute
I
sanity,
think
though.
you hit
So-
the nail on the head there. Actually, I really do. I think that is. The
I
best
think
way
it's
to go.
Charlie's fault, to be honest. He's
Can't blame
definitely
it all
still
on
trying
me.
to get out of that crisp packet, so I think it's Charlie.
Shaban, you've been waiting to have your say on this. So far, everyone's kind of saying I should step back, don't be rash, don't waste a chip that I'm going to want to use in the second half of the season. It's only KDB, it's only Matip. What's your thoughts on it?
I kind of agree with Aguero, to be honest. I think you need to keep KDB in your team. I really wouldn't be comfortable getting rid of him and then only, a week or so later be pining to get him back in. I'd definitely just get Matip out maybe, and then Adrian. That's entirely up to you. See what you can do with the money. It's fine, mate. I think it's a little bit of a knee jerk to pull that out right at this time.
Okay. I appreciate that. I'm starting to come around to this idea that a free hit is best used in a double or in a blank game week.
Yeah.
I mean, as a rival, I think you should do a free hit, to be honest.
Charlie, talk to me. Charlie. You've seen both teams.
Yeah.
It is my team needing a drastic overhaul.
No, I think, to be honest, I think you should play Loughton, because they've kept 2 clean sheets out of the last 3 home games, only conceding to Liverpool. And Everton aren't exactly scoring loads of goals, are they? To be fair. And then Adrian, I mean, yeah, I seen that today on the press conferences that he said Alisson's been in training, so that could possibly be a transfer. But yeah, you only need to do a -4 or -8. You don't need to do
I just don't
a wild
want to.
card.
I think it's psychological. I just don't want to do a -4 on Adrian. I just can't. Not for a goalkeeper.
I mean, you could play you could play Button like I did the last 2 weeks.
I'm going to have to take him out next week. And so,
How much is Adrian? 4 point.
4.5, 4.6.
Alright.
What is the risk of him actually being taken straight out? I mean, Adrian, you need to be training for a little while. You need to get his confidence back up. In training, so that this injury won't reoccur, and things like that. So, you might be all right with Adrian for another week. It was the one.
Yeah, you should be.
Transfer.
You should be alright, because I mean, it's not even his fault. Like, the goals that he's been conceding have all been, bad defensive errors, or people losing their man in, like the Salzburg game the other night. I think he should be alright for this week. Adrian.
Jason, do you think Leicester will score?
Yes,
Yeah, I hope not. I got 2 Liverpool defenders.
I do think Leicester have got it in them to score.
Be game week 10 when Alisson comes back, probably at Spurs. Never know. Game week 11.
So even if I don't get any points for Adrian, I don't think they're going to keep a clean sheet anyway, so it's 2 points. I don't want to take a -4 getting him out. I really don't.
Do it. I'm joking.
I mean, I like the look of Yarmolenko. I think I really would like to have Yarmolenko in my team, but
Yeah, it's good.
so I think Dan James can put 20 balls into the box, and then they're not going to be finished.
Yeah.
There's no one there. There's just literally no one there. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, that's why I got rid of him. I think even though you could say it's an alright fixture, the way United are playing.
To train this week.
You know, James playing well, but he's got no one to, finish it like you said. So.
Okay. Well, have we gone through everyone's opinion here? I think we have, haven't we?
Yeah.
Let's bring in that Lost guy and James as well. James and the Lost guy, you're now on air 2 with the rest of the crew. How's it going, James?
So
yeah, good. Have you got any advice that you want to share with myself on this possible free hit?
Personally, I have hit the free hit button.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
Whoa, stop the music. You've hit the free hit button. Right,
Chase,
okay.
we got a real madman here.
Right, so why have you hit the free hit?
I've got De Bruyne and Aurier, and I basically will only be playing with 10 men this week.
Who's on your bench?
I've got Dendonka, Kelly, and Greenwood. I'm not 100% whether Kelly will start. I don't back Dendonka to get many points. Looking at my team, I'm just not filled with confidence going into the game week.
So you've hit the free hit already. You've overhauled your team basically.
Yeah, I hit the free hit. I've got it in front of me.
Who's your captain?
No way.
Aubameyang.
Boona, you got yourself muted. You were talking about possibly this is almost a similar position to you with Orient teams. Well, I mean,
I'm playing with a free hit team right now on my other phone, just having a look, to be honest.
Boona.
I'm genuinely serious as well. I'm 55, 45, thinking to do it.
But so you've got De Bruyne and Aurier red flags in your free hitting.
Who?
Boona, is that all you've got? Red flags?
No, I ain't got De Bruyne. No, I've got Matip, Aurier, Wan-Bissaka, and Cantwell.
Wan-Bissaka.
And it's also because I want Aubameyang. Yeah, I mean, really, like, the defense isn't the end of the world. Like, I could maybe just about field 3 with a -4 or -8. I could do that, I guess.
Boona, I think you lost your head on the M6, mate.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that.
Right, so let's have a vote. Right,
the lady at the Starbucks drive-thru, to be honest, giving me good advice.
Let's have a vote then. Right, Shaban, yes or no free hit? Shaban, yes or no free hit or no?
No for free hit for me.
Chicken, Tikka Mo Salah, Charlie, yes or no free hit?
No.
FPL Aguero, yes or no free hit?
Oh, save it.
Penguin, yes or no free hit?
No.
Boona, yes or no free hit?
100% yes.
James, yes or no free hit?
That 110%.
Was that a yes or no?
That was a yes. That was a yes.
That was a yes?
That was a yes.
And the Lost guy, yes or no?
No.
Okay. Daily Llama, yes or no?
I say no, but I think the true vote has to be done as a Y or an N in the actual chat when there's over 200 people in there.
5-2. How many people we got tuned in?
Over 250, I think.
Right, okay, guys in chat. Let's use your collective knowledge. Chicken Tikka, can you stop making a noise on stream? Thank you ever so much. Can we use your collective knowledge in chat? Y or N? Should I free hit this game week? Go.
Jason, I have to add. I think it's hilarious that Notorious wants a poll ran.
Yeah, do a poll.
Quite a few no's.
I'm looking at this. There's a lot of no's.
Yeah, you do need to wildcard.
Jason, as G Wiz would hashtag play your own game.
Oh, there's a few
Don't
Y's
panic,
as
Jason.
well.
Don't panic.
There's a few people pressing Y more than once, I think, there.
Spamming it.
Do a poll. Should I do a poll? Let's do a poll.
do a
Let's
poll.
do a poll.
That would
Right,
be
let's
more
do a
better.
poll. Here we go. Let's do a poll. Right, we'll do a straw poll, guys.
Do a Notorious. Come on.
Right, we're going to do a straw poll on this one. I'm being deadly serious now, guys. This isn't a joke. This is not a joking matter. I'm genuinely thinking I'm going to free hit. But I
Don't
need
to.
Done a straw poll for ages. Let's do it.
Should I free hit?
Can I give my free advice?
Go on then.
I'm looking at your team right now. Just take out James for McGinn.
Yeah.
That's a -8.
I just heard the James for McGinn move. I didn't hear anything else.
That's all I heard.
Take out
There we
Lansbury for Saka in Arsenal.
Vote on that.
Yes, Saka.
Matip for a defender that you'll know who will play.
Yeah, do Tamori. Tamori for Matip.
I'll tell you this right now.
Matip to Tamori and Saka for James. Is that what you're saying?
Lansbury.
Lansbury.
It's 50-50. 50-50.
Right, let's have a
Yeah,
look.
the
Let's
votes are
have a look.
coming in.
Let's have a look at this.
Yes is in the lead. 50-50. Yes is in the lead.
It's like being at a race course here.
Yes, is in the read by just
Oh no, the boring no's have taken over.
56%. 58% for the no shit. Yes, it's just behind
getting
41.
Oh no, all the boring people are in now.
Oh, the boring people.
Tell you what, though, it's getting close.
It's close, isn't it?
Oh, Jace, you do not need a free hit. Honestly.
I don't need to free hit.
Oh,
No.
50-50 we're at now. Oh. Those are in. Yeses are in front.
In the team screenshots. Can I get some opinions on that?
James, you don't need to free hit if you only got 2 players. Just save it for a blank game week.
It's been hit.
Yes is in the lead.
Oh,
Yeah,
you've done it as
yes
well.
is taking a 10%
Yes,
lead.
yes is in the lead at the moment. Should I free hit, guys? Here we go.
Oh,
I
Jason,
think
do it.
I've
then.
got a lot of
Go on.
drama. We've got a drama crowd here, I think. They just want to see
Many
drama, don't
trolls.
they? Come on, guys. I'm relying on you, all 200 of you. I'm relying on you right now. We've got 45 votes. There's 200 of you watching. Please, guys, just spend literally. It's not even that much of an effort. Just use your thumb to press a blimmin' poll, for God's sake. I'll post in the link again in chat if you haven't got the link already. The link to the poll is in chat. Should I free hit this team? Into the team on the screen
Yes votes.
now.
Oh, it's not letting me vote more than once.
Yeah, well, that's not that's the whole
tell
point,
you-
isn't it?
Tell you what, though. The yeses are swinging it now.
Yes, it's smashing it.
Don't listen to the
Oh,
crowd, Jason.
Jason, look like it's
I'm
happening,
just
mate.
gonna click yes for a laugh.
Those are pulling it back.
Don't listen to the crowd.
Don't listen to the crowd. Let's bring it up again.
Oh, we're swinging back.
Oh,
He's doing
67
48.
votes. 67 votes, guys. If we can get to 100 votes, I'm going to take your answer. I'm going to tell you now. If we get to 100 votes, I'm taking your answer. I'm not lying.
So we're at 8,
Oh, do it.
83 then.
Come back on the cards.
84.
It's
We're
not
at
84, is it?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's
It's on 84.
67. What?
85.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
I need-
5 now.
Do I need to refresh or
updating.
something? Because it's
Yeah,
just so
yeah,
60.
yeah.
Oh, for God's sake.
The suspense.
Oh,
It's
God.
This is
15
close.
more
This is
votes.
close. This is
15
close.
15
This is
more
close.
votes.
15 more
Literally on a
votes.
wire.
What is
15
going
more
on?
votes, and I will take your opinion on
13.
board.
88.
12.
Oh god, 51-49.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Real close.
I bet Noah's going to win.
45-43.
Ooh.
If you have
They
to
can't get
ask
banana
people what
out
to
of
do
it.
with your own team, then what's the point? It's dumb. No, because I've already kind of made my mind up already.
This is like a Brexit, this is like a Brexit referendum.
Yes.
If there's one point in it, I can't take that as a
As a majority.
as a majority.
50-50. 51-49.
12
7
points.
more votes.
Is it really? It's not updating for
Yeah.
me.
94.
Yeah, just refresh it.
Oh.
Oh, it's close.
6.
There is
Wait.
nothing in it.
5 more.
Oh, yes.
Oh, 50-50.
Oh.
God, this is. Oh my God.
4 more votes.
Oh, come on.
Oh my God, guys, come on. Vote no. Vote no. Vote no.
1 more vote. Yes is back.
Oh, it's tied.
50-50.
One,
2
more.
votes.
2 votes. I love it's a tie.
Oh, go on.
Oh, yes.
No. One
more vote.
One more vote, Giga 50-50. Go on, vote no.
This is either going to go.
There's no way this can be 50-50.
Go on.
Where is that one person?
One vote.
Polls closed, guys. Polls closed.
50-50.
It's 50-50. It's 50-50.
For God's sake.
No, we said 100
coin.
votes. It was 50-50 on 100 votes. Sorry, that is.
Too good.
I think there's only one way of settling this.
Inconsequential. I demand a referendum.
Yes, and just leave your team as it is. Nah, just leave the team as it is if it's 50-50.
Thanks for tuning into the stream, guys. We'll see you on Saturday for a soccer Saturday. Take care. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I thought you were being serious.
Yeah, coin toss. Yeah.
Just leave it as it is.
I'm gonna
Is
listen.
Charlie winning
I'm
again?
gonna listen to you guys,
No.
and I'm not gonna free hit.
Boring.
Red alert is now off, guys. Red alert is now off. We do not have a red alert situation anymore whatsoever. This is calm.
Yeah, I
You've talked him
agree. I agree
down.
with
It's
Notorious.
He stepped
Time for a
away
coin toss, mate.
There
from
we
the
go.
edge.
There we go.
Coin toss.
There we go. We're cool.
Boo. Give the crowd what they want.
Give the crowd what they want. Give Steve-O what he wants. Let's give Steve-O what he wants.
I think the thing is though, you've taken the red lights out. We've taken the music out. The red red alert is now ended. However, the glasses are staying on, so I think the hits are about to happen.
Yes. That's the spirit.
Steve-O. That's what I can imagine him doing.
Now the question is, how many?
I reckon you should
Jason, that's too funny, mate.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna do some transfers. I said I was gonna do some transfers on stream tonight, and that is the truth. I am gonna do some before I go to bed tonight. I understand Dan James is gonna go down in price.
So you have to get Yarmolenko in then.
Don't copy me and get Yarmolenko, mate.
Hey, dude, I'm not copying you, mate. Don't you worry.
Yarmolenko scored 2 goals
I
against
know.
Everton last season at Goodison, so maybe, you know.
Oh, you know what?
Think about it.
Captain Yarmolenko.
Yeah, Siple Yarmolenko.
I want a Bamiyang in as well.
Oh, well.
Me too. Has anyone got Saka in?
No.
Just
No.
me then.
He's a good player, then.
Looks like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
he's a
listen
good
to my
player.
advice then, Boona.
Alright, okay, so
What's that, Charlie?
Dan James out is a good idea, says Brendan. You watch, I'll take him out and you'll end up getting 2 goals against Newcastle.
Don't say that, I've already taken him out.
Yeah, me.
Right, so let's look. I mean, looking at my team, I don't want Rico. I don't want to rely on Rico. I really don't want to rely on Rico. I can live with Loughton at home to Everton.
Yeah.
I can live with Lundstrom away at Watford. I can live with Digne away at Burnley. It's the Matip and De Bruyne. So the Matip is obviously the Tomori, isn't it? Let's be honest with you. That's the transfer to make, isn't it? Right? Are we in agreement on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, so frees you up a bit of cash as well.
Bit of Tomori coming in. Let's make that transfer now, shall we? Boom. There we go, guys. Transferred Tomori in. So my team now. I can have Loughton on the bench well, I can't have Loughton on the bench. I'm gonna have to play Loughton for De Bruyne. That's not so bad, is it? Yarmolenko in for James -4.
McGinn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will go. I want Yarmolenko over McGinn. Sorry, I like Yarmolenko's fixtures more.
What if I told you Ben Godfrey has a groin injury and he needs surgery?
Who?
Ben Godfrey for Norwich. He needs surgery.
Norwich centre back.
Has he really?
When was
He'll be
this?
getting it after the game.
Nah, he's only joking, Jace.
No, I'm serious.
Lansbury for Saka.
Yeah, get Saka and listen to my advice on the morning stream.
Really? I can't even afford him. Oh, I can afford him. Never mind. Lansbury for Saka. Right. Okay. So I'm gonna. Is he gonna play?
Does Lansbury even play?
Yeah, he was
But not-
completely.
Starting.
He was
Don't know if
completely,
he's
he was
consistent,
completely rested from the Arsenal Europa League team.
He's got about as much chance of starting as what Greenwood has.
No, he hasn't.
Who? Saka? No,
chance.
Saka will play.
Yeah, he's better than Pepe.
That's a bit of a statement there.
What about Callum Hudson-Odoi? Have you looked at him?
Hey, keep away from Odoi.
I think this is going to be a breakout season for a lot of the youngsters, like Greenwood.
Already done the transfer alarm.
I like to see Brewster get a shot at Liverpool.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Right. So the question is, do I do a punt on Saka or do I stick with James? That's it, basically.
Go Saka.
I reckon just take out Aguero for Aubameyang.
I can't take
Keep
it.
James. Keep James this week, Jason.
Not for -4. I can't do that.
That's
James
what I'm
has
doing.
got Newcastle.
McGinn over Yarmolenko.
Nah, do Yarmolenko. He's got better fixtures.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definite.
The thing is, I'll tell you what, guys. I can't do a Saka for a -4. That's just madness. You guys are trying. You're pulling me back from the brink of madness a minute ago for free hitting. Now you're saying, bro, you bring Saka in for Lansbury.
I would take James out for Yarmolenko.
Yeah.
And then just do the -4 and just ride the wave, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
How would that play out?
There we go. Well, that plays out like this. So we'll have. This is the team: Digne, Lundstrom, Tomori, Loughton, Yarmolenko, Son, Mane, Abraham, Pukki, and Aguero. And who would I captain? That is a question. I'm gonna sleep on it. It's on Mane at the moment.
Pukki.
Yeah.
Abraham.
No.
I don't know. I just don't know who I want to captain. I would.
Abraham and Son are getting rested.
If I knew Aguero was going to start, definitely I would put the armband on Aguero.
I think you can rely on the fact that Mane's definitely starting.
Yeah.
I can't put that on Adrian. It doesn't matter now. Right. I bet you that James outscores Yarmolenko this week. Darren Walsh, I will see you on Saturday afternoon. I've had Dan James longer than I wanted to have him, and yeah, he's been putting in cross after cross after cross after cross. Most of them have not found within. I would say most of them haven't even gone within 6 yards of a Man United player in the box. Matt Brunton says, all swearing comments spamming anger towards hosts will result in deleted messages. Guys, I'm sorry. If you don't like the show, nobody's forcing you to stay here to watch it. I mean, certainly not me. So yeah, go and enjoy someone else's streams, or go and watch Twitch. Go watch I don't know, PewDiePie. I don't really care.
PewDiePie. Yeah.
You got married, I hear. Anyway, thank you guys. That's my transfers done. I've got Yarmolenko in for Dan James. I brought Tomori in from Matip, and I'm living on a prayer that Adrian's going to play to Leicester. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for all of you guys for coming in on air and talking me out of doing a free hit and talking some sense into me. Thank you. And everyone that voted, can't believe that ended up 50-50. Thank you ever so much. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
Just an interest. Whereabouts are you? Not in the world. 2 seconds. Just ask a couple of questions. I just needed to get the door for a second.
No problem,
this is what happens when you're live.
What's going on? No, not really. I'm waiting to go to gym. What about yourself?
Live on YouTube doing a stream.
Why do you feel that you're constantly changing your teammate? Is it just there's just
I'm
so
hearing
many ideas?
So many ideas, so many different perspectives. I blame Brett Mollison for his 5 at back, because when you see my new team,
wow.
Brighton home, they couldn't buy a goal in the last season.
Well, I don't know. Dan's got Glenn Murray. I think he'll have a word to say about that.
I'm detecting possibly a German accent. I'm probably completely way out. But where are you calling us from?
South Africa.
On the first day, I literally just typed in FPL, like first draft, and yours came up like first. So I thought, oh, well, I'll watch one of the live streams when it comes on. And then I thought, this is a bit long, isn't it? About 2 hours in. And then 3 hours later, well, an hour later, I was like, yeah, these seem alright, you know. Steven's not that bad.
I have one question for you. I want you to predict the order of the Elite FPL ranking. So, like, who do you think will finish first, second, and third out of y'all three this season?
So it's certainly, no disrespect to Dan, but it's certainly going to be between me and Jason. And right now, as it stands, I'd go with Jason because my history suggests that I'm going to be having a bad season.
So I've got the 5 at the back. I just see a lot of value there. I feel like if I don't have Salah, I can spread the money elsewhere and maybe get the points another way.
All the teams now, except for obviously Salah and Sterling, these players, a lot of players are going to change towards the start of the season just because of new transfers, injuries that could happen, and all of that. So for me to tell you now, like personally right now, I'd say definitely if Tammy Abraham or Batshuayi are cheap, I'd get one of them just because I don't care about the Man United. We can score against them, at least 2 or 3.
Hey guys, this season we're using Discord. It's a text and voice application where you can talk all things FPL with fellow community members. You can post your team in the Rate My Team, talk in the general chat, you can look at transfer news, look at awesome GIFs, sign up for our Cash Mini League, look at our previous podcasts, and even join us live on air in one of our streams. We look forward to seeing you guys. Link is in the description, or look at the code on screen.